consequences. So governors must carefully do their things in a way that they do not create a serious rift with the administration of the day.
Right. So they shouldn't really be overbraining this when they see it is just business. So when you see, them holding court with the president, that is the national government. This is a county government. Yes. There has to be that complementarity for efficient service delivery.
Yes, and you see, President William Ruto is very good in posing in a way that he's in charge of everything. And is very good for camera tricks and optics. Is very good in creating the right optics.
So these are optics as well.
He wants to create the feeling that is in charge.
Okay, and of course you always know it will be the Governors Summit as well. That will be happening in Eldoret as well. This is a star for you.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have on the side. But there, cancer has turned my family into beggars. This is according to a Mason there. It all began with a toothache in June 2022, then a tumor followed by August this year. The tumor had balloon pushing Mary Awino's teeth and tongue out of the mouth. She struggles to drink milk, her only food, and only swallows after a cocktail of painkillers. I'm in a lot of pain. That is all she could say. And the story continues on page 2 of The Star this morning. And it's good that also the legislators have stashed away some cancer fund. And we know the reality of cancer, how it is really devastating families, wiping out their savings. And we cannot always know in health. It's just like weather. You never know what will actually be on tomorrow, whether it will be sunshine or rainfall. All right, despite the fact that you have meteorological indicators as well. This is The Star. Residents dig up 8.5 billion shillings road under construction. That is on page 3. And cost surgeons amputate man's legs as they chat. You can read all about it inside The Star. They say, imagine this. You lie on the operating table with a green sheet blocking your view from your left leg. The surgeon moves a scalpel to cut off the leg below the knee as you both discuss football or the rising price of sugar. When he has chopped it off, he asks you, raise the stump now so that we can sew it up. I can't actually be discussing football while somebody is amputating my leg. All right, but that's the reality of technology right now. Painless operation. All right. You can see Professor Gitile Naituli is asking for coffee. You know, Naituli, we're on air. Yeah, and everyone can see what is happening or can understand and hear you asking for coffee in the morning.
No idea.
All right, I always say this is my small kiosk. Yeah, so. All right, thank you very much. This is the People Daily for you. Why are Kenyans selling eyeballs? This, of course, in the wake of the Worldcoin craze that is happening in the country, MPs are demanding answers. Interior CS asked to explain who authorized digital company known as Worldcoin to start collecting iris signatures from Kenyans. As new evidence shows, data protection boss had questioned the move before. And the story continues on page 4 of the People Daily. And also, immigration officers were alerted that they should be watchful and look out for these officials of Worldcoin who might be jetting out of the country in light of these revelations. But some of them, they have been before the DCI to explain their operations in the country. And 7,000 shillings, Brandweke, for your bio data. Seems to be, easy money. What do you gain to lose?
I think for me, that is a clear indication that there's a lot of poverty in our country. For somebody to literally go and give out their data, retina, biodata, clearly it's an indication that there is serious poverty in our country. And you saw there were so many Kenyans who actually went for that. There was a commotion. People said bring that 7,000 fairly quickly. But when you see, my take is that when you see people taking data, clearly there's somebody in government who authorized them. I saw the Minister of ICT saying that they're within the law.
They're within the law.
Then all of a sudden, the Minister for Interior said, no. These guys cannot be doing this.
It's a security issue right now.
Absolutely. So, really, that begs a lot of questions. Where are we as a country?
Indeed.
If you can just allow people to walk in and pick data on your citizens, then I think we're not in a very good place as a country.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So, and they say data is king right now, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can read all the details about this inside the People Daily this morning on page 4. And on top, we can see they're really under the gun there, being supervised by the CS of Sports, Ababu Namwamba, inspecting ongoing repair works at Nyayo National Stadium ahead of the CAF Confederation Cup match between Kakamega Homeboys and Al Hilal Benghazi of Libya, set for August 18th. That is a story that you want to follow on page 29 of the People Daily. And new university gets green light to offer degrees. This is President William Ruto signs the visitors book. He can be seen here during the award of charter to the Open University of Kenya at Konza Technopolis in Machakos County yesterday. And with him, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, Education CS Ezekiel Machogu, and other government officials. Kenyans will pay about a quarter of the fees charged in other public universities to access education at the Open University of Kenya. President Ruto also appointed Equity Group CEO as its chancellor. We have Professor Elijah Omwenga also there in gown, will be the acting vice chancellor. You remember we were discussing about the Open University and how it's going to drastically change the outlook of higher education here in the country. And this is, they're saying it's paying a quarter of what the public universities will be paying. Maybe also the private university, and this is, I know Professor Gitile Naituli, him is in the public university. People have been questioning why we pay the same amount, or why people are paying the same amount as students who are coming to class in person when others actually taking classes online.
Yeah, but
the expenses are diametrically different, or is it?
No, it's the same. You spend the same time preparing the lecture. You spend the same time delivering. In fact, those online members should even pay more because you actually cover more material if you are doing it online than when you are doing it face-to-face. Because face-to-face you have interruptions, you talk to students. In terms of material coverage, online you cover much more.
But what is the operation cost? What is the operation cost apart from just the material and maybe
it's the same. The
internet?
Is the same.
No, the classes are not cleaned. So we can actually strike out the janitor's payroll there. Yeah? The power bills are not billed if maybe it's an evening class.
We are not paying rent.
We are not paying any rent. So can you justify you're not paying any rent, you're not paying the janitors? Yeah? There's no cost of transportation. There's no...
You know, we did...
There's an e-library.
During the government, we did most of the theoretical courses actually online. And for me, I found it extremely efficient in terms of delivering material to the students. The only thing you are lacking is you are not able to look at the students and figure out whether they are understanding you or not, because that you can do when you are looking at them. So online, that one will not come through. So there is, you are right, there is some disadvantage of online teaching. But in terms of cost or overhead, the cost, when you look at it and all that, I don't think it's much different.
But you've just been given the operating. If you look at the cost of benefit analysis here, just look at that particular. Because we will say rent is a big issue.
Yes. Yeah. Facility rent.
Yeah, facility rent is a big issue. Yeah, you have maybe the desks and all that. The maintenance as well is an issue. Yes. But that will be a big component. Why should you pay the same amount?
I think the difference is too small to make a difference.
You know, now it is in your space, you have to defend your space as well. I want to just be a sincere Kenyan as it is. But anyway, that is good news so far with the Open University. And the MPs were also on this. This is bound to, of course, change the landscape of academia as it is right now with the open learning. This is what the president has signed or was signing the charter and now they can be offering degrees. As you can follow the story on page 2 of the People Daily. And mother put on trial after trying to sell off her child. There is a mother who was trying to sell off her child. And this goes to show where we are at as far as, could we say that is the cost of living? And sometimes maybe this is a child that was really I don't like using the term unwanted.
You see why people need to be careful with this cost of living, and why, I mean, when I hear people saying that you give me 2 years from now, you know, at one time, I think I described this thing as a Shakahola philosophy, because the whole idea about Shakahola is you suffer now because you are going to a better place. So we suffer now because in 2 years it will be better. Between those 2 years, count the people who have committed suicide because of misery. Because the other day, there was a mother who jumped in the sea together with the child in Mombasa, and she left a note saying that simply she couldn't maintain herself and her kid. Yeah? So I'm not surprised someone is trying to sell the child. If you now, from today, start tracking down suicides, start tracking down in broken families, okay, all that, you realize that this, what they are trying to do in order to get the money from IMF is actually not worth it. Implementing the IMF policy is not worth it. Because I'm also looking, you look in the next 2 years, the number of Kenyans who will not be in the university, they will be staggering. Because and this is where also the university management in terms of even the union is totally useless. I don't even know why the lecturers are still in these unions in the university, because they should have challenged the staggering, the classification in court of students as rich, poor, very poor, because you see, you can't have rich or poor Kenyan children who need to access university education. You can't. The reason why you can't is there is even no law forcing me to pay for my child after 18 years. There's no law. So if you challenged that this government policy in court and Article 27, because 27 we say we're equal before the law and we deserve equal benefit of the law. So if there is a Kenyan getting a full scholarship by the government, all the Kenyans in that category shouldn't be able to get full scholarship by the government.
Thank you. All right, I just wanted to come back on the issue because now you started with the trial of a mother after trying to sell, then you went now to government.
No, I'm just explaining.
You just explained. But when we look at this particular story, because the issue, it's indicative of where the society is. Just the other day we saw a granny being charged, 85-year-old, together with the uncle and was it the mother, the child, Obiri, that his eyes were gouged out. Can you imagine your relatives, your mom or your uncle is there gouging out your eyes? I don't know if it's for any ritualistic, endeavor that they had with those eyes. But where is society really coming to? If your own mother can actually sell you out. First, is it fathers who have abdicated their duties, that now the society is off kilter completely? Because they are supposed to be the people who are giving the true north. You as the father, you as a leader, if we started at home, then also in the society, that particular needle will point to the right direction. What is happening with us? Why would a mother do this? What will actually force a mother to sell the child?
Every organization is guided by a number of factors, the dynamics within the organization, certain influences external and internal, and also the behavior of the leadership of that organization. We have reduced our moral bar to so low that it is impossible to understand where we are going next. So this is a moral issue, at the same time economic issue when it comes to the child and the mother jumping into the sea. But gouging of the eyes is the sadism that we have created in our society, where we don't care as long as it's not me suffering. We like inflicting pain to individuals other than ourselves, because you've had even police shooting their colleagues and committing suicide after that. It may not even be to do with any love triangle or anything like that. But why is it that we are so violent in trying to mitigate or to resolve conflicts? This is something that we need to look at. as a people. So it's a bit societal, and therefore the leadership at every level should be careful on what values are we imparting on our people, because people copy from their leaders. If it is bad manners, they copy from the leaders. If it is violence, they copy from the leaders. If it is sadism, they copy from the leaders. And that is what you've been seeing.
Right. Yep. Could there be also the issue of organ harvesting? Because you never know. We picked up this as media. How many of the stories have actually gone and slid just very, very quietly of young children suffering? Some of the body parts being dismembered for ritualistic activities that we are not aware of. And maybe, Brian, we can pick your brains on because you have been in that particular space of also advocating for children's rights.
Actually, when I used to work for the Cradle, we were the ones who drafted the Counter-Trafficking in Persons Act. And I remember we had some clients who had walked in and their child was HIV positive, yet both parents were negative. So we conducted 3 different DNA tests to ascertain whether the parents were HIV positive, and all 3 different independent DNA tests actually came out that they were negative. So we asked ourselves, then how do you get a child that is HIV positive? So then we did a DNA test, the child and the parents, and it was totally negative. So we realized that basically what was happening in that hospital, they swapped babies.
They swapped babies?
Yes. So in this particular case, I'm actually reading. The mother said that she had a difficult pregnancy. When the father came home to ask where is the child, the mother said the child had been admitted in hospital. This particular case of
this case.
Yes. And so eventually the mother told the father that apparently the child died in hospital. So I can see they've been charged with trafficking of the child, I think, but we needed to dig deeper and find out the people who were purchasing this child, what was it for?
And the hospitals that are involved. That is a conduit.
It is always a ring and a racket. You remember the DARE cases where children were being trafficked to other countries, and it was a conduit. You'd have the hospital involved, there were brokers, immigration officers. So basically, it is a problem.
Did you take any scruples even with the DARE's court case? It's been taking a glacial slowness over the years, then you come and drop it all of a sudden.
Actually, eventually he was acquitted.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I mean, how was he acquitted? You as the legal minds should actually tell us, well, there are no evidence that are sufficient for all that particular time, and you get acquittal at the end of the day, yet you've been embroiled, and there were cases, people have come out.
You know, when DARE was being charged, I think he was charged either under the previous the Children's Act or the Penal Code. So then we did not have
excuse me, sorry,
a Counter-Trafficking in Persons Act, and I think that is where the problem was.
So in this particular case, if it was DARE's case and we are in the new dispensation of a new constitution, the law cannot be applied retrospectively. Is that the case?
Yeah, the law cannot be applied retrospectively. So the DARE case.
So if the case continues,
if he was charged under the Counter-Trafficking in Persons Act, he would have been found guilty. It's just that we didn't have the requisite legislation to charge DARE.
So can you appeal under the new?
No, you can't. The laws don't go back.
And if there's an unfair justice, you know, I don't. That's what you said. The law is an ass.
Don't work backward.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So if your case has been there, that you've been charged unfairly, maybe even convicted for murder, and evidence come out after, we've seen this happening after 20 or even 30 years, someone comes and say, he's not the one, actually I'm the one. My conscience has not been that good with me. I'm coming to reveal that I'm the person. That cannot be we've seen people getting convicted. So how does the issue of the law, in this particular case, Martin, I'm looking at you, because now this is what you're going to teach at the Desta University, maybe a case study as well.
You see, Dibal, and I'm sorry, I just arrived late, so that's why I've been holding myself back, because I wanted you to introduce me, but here I am. I didn't want to jump the way I wait to be introduced.
You're a man of decorum.
And protocol.
Order.
Man of decorum, why are you late?
A good one. I can explain.
And don't talk about decorum. Don't talk about traffic jam. No traffic jam.
No traffic jam.
You heard the president saying, do not talk about traffic jam.
Yes. And
You need to leave early.
I'm the president, so I don't quote traffic. I'll give other reasons. But the point is, Dibal, that law has a process. So once a due process has been followed, we all agree to subject ourselves to that due process. So even when you look at the case of Daya, for example, once he has gone through a process and he has appealed, and the court process again finds that he has no case to answer or there's no reason for him to be incarcerated, then he's released. So it's about procedural propriety and it's about following the law. So unless there was something that didn't work out well, we default or we defer to allowing the courts to have their say, and if you don't like what they're saying, you are free to appeal to the next court level and so on. So for example, if somebody feels like they may have been released unfairly, again, there is a place to go, whether it's the state or any other interested party. But that said, I think the issue we are dealing with is that we do have crimes, and crimes in this country take all sorts of directions, so that you have children being hurt or being assaulted by people who are supposed to be under their care. You have children who are being defiled by their own relatives, people who are supposed to be the best care. They say that the child's best interest is in the hands of those who are best, like parents or mother or so on. And you've seen that in many cases, even mothers, even fathers have defiled or have, assaulted, or they have actually brought the children a way of harm. Now, that is our societal problem, as I had our PhD candidate here say. Today he's very smart in a tie on a Friday. There must be some deal he's going to seal, but that's another story. So the way he said it, that yes, there is a societal issue here.
Yes.
And that we must admit. One of the things that, and I saw you probing, is the organ harvesting.
Yes.
You see, one of the things we need to accept is that we are living in a society that is fairly degenerating. We have lost it, our morality is down. But then you can also say that there are certain things that are making us that base.
Yes.
Poverty. Yeah? Lack of hope. People are going to school, and after school, no jobs.
Yes.
People are being promised heaven, and when reality comes, they are in hell itself. And so people can't live on hope, can't live with a bit of decorum among themselves. So what are they resorting to? They are resorting to some of the most base, the most dehumanizing issues. We are resorting to the state of nature. Remember, Thomas Hobbes warned us that man in state of nature is dangerous, and life in state of nature is short, nasty, and brutish. So the moment you drop civilization, the moment you begin to agree to just hang around and you bring down your humanity, then we see more of those issues coming up.
Thank you.
Yes.
Prof.
The question you're asking is actually a fundamental one. What's happening to our society, basically? Because if you can go dig out a child's eyes, you can have some guy on the ground and you all beat as if you are killing a snake and you feel nothing about it. You can shoot people during demonstrations.
Yes.
There is no outrage either from the public or from the government, which is supposed to protect those people. Then something is wrong. Now I want to tell you what is wrong. There is, in society, there is the unseen governor.
The unseen governor.
Unseen governor governing all our actions. It's called consciousness. So when the collective consciousness of the people sinks, goes very low, okay, they produce, Mheshimiwa Geru is talking about the leadership. They produce a leadership which has even lower consciousness than the general population. So what happens now, this is where the idea that the people get a government they deserve. That is trying to answer that collective consciousness. You can see it, but it's governing all your decisions and your actions. So our collective consciousness is very low. Now, how do you raise it? How do you increase it? You know, there are some people who suggest that maybe we need to go to Asiatic Times and get a hold of a book like the Gita, the Indian religious book, or the Upanishads, and teach people meditation. They think when you reduce stress in your system, because the collective stress has gone way too high until our senses are dimmed. When you reduce stress, then you begin functioning like a normal person. And when several people function normally, then it translates to society functioning normally. That is called raising the collective consciousness. So we have sunk very low. And I cannot see, unless maybe we go to that, the practical system of doing it, in the way they will do it in Asia. You see, the Asians, why they have all made progress? Because they have systems of dealing with the society stress, which we don't. And so maybe we need to borrow, because knowledge is always borrowed. We need to borrow from the Asians.
There's no monopoly of knowledge.
Yes, we start mass meditation.
You know what Professor is saying at the governor called conscious. The only governor we have is the God. I don't know if you want to take us to meditation and whatnot.
Professor has been reading a lot of Catholic. The New Ageism. Yeah, okay. So before you came in as well, we were discussing what we had actually teased out, I think, some few weeks before on the Open University.
Yes.
And this is bound to slash 75% of the tuition costs that now someone will be paying will be affordable. And I know from university you've been leading as well with the e-learning, especially when we had COVID-19 kicking in. But we discussed that. But I wanted just to raise an issue that I can see also is in the Business Daily, because you've been challenging Mheshimiwa Kirwa here with his PhD.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking at him in the eye.
Yeah, there's somebody who's written a very interesting opinion here, and is worried. He's saying, why low completion rate among PhD candidates will worry the state? There's low completion, and I remember this one. Dr. Martin Olo will have, a feast on it. With Kiro. And he says the deterioration of the quality of education in the country should be a concern to those in power. Take the low completion rate among master's and doctorate degree candidates in our learning institutions, for instance. Studies indicate that most postgraduate students in Kenya are struggling to complete their studies, often taking longer than the stipulated time, and at times dropping out silently out of frustration. Although the national benchmark for doctoral completion rate is set at 20% for every group of students admitted at this level, only about 11% of students complete their studies within the stipulated period of 3 years. There are a number of factors attributed to this, including, but not limited to, inadequate support program and facilities in public universities, funding constraints, poor supervision, and timely feedback to students, and uncoordinated irregular student supervisor meetings, and low level of qualified academic staff. There
is
the academia.
There is an element of truth in what he's saying, because what he's observing is generally some of the reasons that lead to the delays. From where I sit, it's three ways. There's a role of the student, there is the role of the supervisor, and there's a role of the institution. So the student is the driver of this process and must at all times endeavor to be on top and be in touch with their supervisors. So that way, the supervisors don't drop this ball, because supervisors have other things they are doing. They are supervising you, maybe they are supervising 2 or 3 others. So it depends on who is catching their attention and who is demanding of them. That's number one. Number two, some of our own students want shortcuts. There's a student whose work I was reviewing, and I told the student, look, this work doesn't look good. And says, no, just let it go. Even if you give me a D, let it go. And so with that kind of an attitude,
even if it's a D, just as long as I've been through the university, it's okay.
And you see now, that is the pain of a supervisor. Because the quality of what you supervise, the quality of what you produce reflects on you. And you don't want just to generate something for the sake of it. I have one where, it's actually a bachelor's student. And they've done the work so well that I'm actually turning it into an article with her as the leader, and then for me the second, author. So that you take that work to the intellectual market. So there is need for us to improve. Students need to improve, including the one sitting next to my left. He needs to improve. He needs to drive the process. He needs to be on top of the research. Remember, it's your idea. Because the beauty about this is that you write something that you yourself has a passion on. Nobody's telling you write on this. No. It's you who is saying, I want to write on this. Therefore, we guide you. We give you the parameters, and we teach you how to argue in a logical, how to be critical, how to be an academic, how to be scientific. Because any writing has to have a logic to it and has to have evidence to it and must be backed in such a way that it's provable. So that when you ask somebody to do the same research you are doing under the same circumstances, you should get the same outcome. So that's the test that we do. And somebody like Brian is looking at me very keenly because he has refused to improve his academic. Professor, Dr. Kirwa here is trying. But him is waiting, I don't know for what. He's been saying he's been waiting for open university. It's now open. It is digital. So, are you not enrolled? So basically, what he's observing is correct. We need to up it. And I tell you, for example, at Daystar, one of the things that we've really done is to be deliberate. Bring supervisees together with supervisors and the university, managing a forum to check, hey, what's happening? Where's progress? What are the challenges? Share with us. So, and then you have things like the thesis management system where you are able to put your work there, put the expectations and timelines there, and so the university is able to know that professor here is just spending time on talk shows and he's not supervising. And if that was the case, then we will summon the professor and say, Prof, hey, these are spending here and so on. So there are ways in which this can be done. Some improvements are happening, but a lot still needs to be done. It's a three-way: the student, the supervisor, and the institution.
And the institution. Actually, let me just hear from Kiro before we come to you, Brian, because the students, the supervisor and the institution.
Yes.
We can talk about the institution and we pick out also the University of Nairobi, because right now we see there's another leadership crisis, the suspension of Vice Chancellor. Yes. We saw the acrimonious transition between Mbithi to was it Mbithi then? We had
Mbithi to Kiama?
To Mbithi to Kiama.
Actually, there were issues. There was Magoha to Mbithi, then Mbithi to Kiama, and the University of Nairobi has always been in chaos. When I have an opportunity, I'll come back, I'll talk about it.
Let's talk about also that.
But I think this is a very good chance and time for us to hear out Mheshimiwa, because this speaks directly to what Dr. Martin Olo has been saying on this show. So the question you need to pose is, how come he has not completed? What are the challenges?
Then we can say, how come?
Is it the institution? Is it the supervision? Is it the curricula?
I think Dr. Martin Olo today came with a lot of vengeance. He's not sparing anybody except you. I just want to agree with him. At times, we the students are lazy. Unless we are closely followed, and we are many. Like in my PhD class, we were about 50-something, and there were not enough supervisors for some of them. For me, I was lucky I got a supervisor after finishing my coursework, and I did very well in my coursework, and I did masters in the same university, my second masters in the same university, under the same supervisor. Now, the challenge has been, of course, I defended my first defense and I went through. So what I'm doing is research. And as he said, research is scientific. You cannot just bring material without trying to sift through, especially when it is issues of governance in Africa. Going through all these countries, 54 of them, with different systems, with different political institutions. Some of them going through coups and coup d'etat, all through. And some of them really don't have a system. You find some of the countries in Africa really don't have a functioning government, leave alone Somalia. In Central Africa, many countries don't have functioning government. In Africa, we don't have strong political institutions such as political parties. And Kenya runs the risk of going down that road of lack of institutionalization of political parties, where parties are either crafted around communities, around personalities, and once the personality is out of town, the party collapses on its own momentum. So these are some of the issues I'm trying to sift, and we are consulting very closely with my good professor, Professor Marian Zomo, who is the main supervisor, plus another professor from Kenyatta University. So I'm doing my best. And remember, I've also been part of demonstration, although I don't demonstrate in the streets, I demonstrate in the studio. So all these issues...
You will not use tones.
I didn't know this is a platform for demonstration. You didn't give me that memo. But I get
I notify you that I'm coming. Yeah. So those are some of the issues. And some institutions, remember Jomo Kenyatta University went through a period where some of the PhDs were questioned, because you would find a supervisor supervising almost 10 students at PhD level and trying to improve the completion rate, which was questioned by other institutions. And I think some of the people lost their slot as PhD holders from that university. So I think at my age, I would want, if by the time I wear the kofia that Professor and Dr. Martin Olo, which I jealously want to wear before I'm 70. So be sure that one day I'll come with it to the studio for everybody to know that this guy, yes, and I was in class. In fact, it's something I want to prove.
Potatoes and banana leaves here.
Yeah.
But come.
And also there is also the important thing. Us as leaders, we've had a lot of problems being questioned about the credibility of our certificates, and for the period at the university doing my 2 masters, I was one of the most punctual and one of the most regular students in terms of attendance. I remember at the University of Nairobi, I would almost score 100 out of 100 in terms of attendance, not in terms of the academic. But of course,
Professor, I hope you also were good academically. Not just
I was. I know. Yeah, and also the bar. Yes. Without really saying too much. For my PhD, I never got anything worse than a B. Yeah, the worst was a B.
And the worst was a B.
And the rest were A's.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Go swap.
Yes.
It has just hit me that Mheshimiwa is compromised on this subject.
He's compromised?
Yes.
Why? How so?
Because he cannot say where the problem is. He says, because he knows where his bread is buttered. He says, the problem is us students. I can tell you for a fact that the problem is actually a 3-pronged approach, as Martin has rightfully put it. But our biggest problem in our education system is that we are lecturer-centric. I know of a PhD candidate. After this, I'll tell you who that candidate is. Who did a proposal, was allocated a supervisor, and it took the supervisor nearly 6 months to respond to the proposal. That is where the problem is. I don't know the likes of Akina Martin and Professor, whether they suffered so much to become professors and they want to put people through that route. I will speak for you. I know you cannot say the problem where it is.
No.
That particular candidate has literally moved from that local school to an international school and is doing it online. She does a proposal, forwards it today. Tomorrow there's a response. Yani, it is so efficient. I don't know where the problem is. Let us call a spade a spade. The biggest problem, even as Martin says, there is an institution. No. The problem is between the student and the lecturer. And more so, the problem is the lecturer. So I don't know whether
and the lecturer is an employee or somebody.
What he has done, what Mr. Mweke just done, he has given you actually where the problem lies. He has told you the problem lies actually with the students. I want to explain what he just told you. Because if the students submitted the proposal, it took 6 months, and these students are not making follow-ups. You see, at one time, we did an experiment to find out the leadership content within second-year students. So this experiment was done with the University of Stockholm, University of West Indies in Jamaica, and the Kenyatta University. Second-year Bachelor of Commerce student, second year. And they were asked a very simple question. They were told that they were given an exam, okay? And the exam was 30 minutes, and the Kenyans, they were told if they finish within 30 minutes, they will get $1 million shillings, because Kenyans want the money. The others were given a different offer, because like the Swedes, they were told within 30 minutes, you finish. You don't finish within 30 minutes, you are discontinued. And you know the honor, for them, the shame of being discontinued is serious. So the Jamaicans were also given some monetary thing. Now this is what happened, my friend. I'm telling you the problem, what you said is just the student. This is what happened with that experiment. The Kenyans, they took a whole 20, you are given an answer sheet, okay? And you are told to start the examination. These Kenyans were looking at each other, looking at they have been told to start. They took about 20 minutes to ask, where is the question paper? Because this is the leadership test that you are willing to say, wow, this is not right. You know how long it took the Swedes? Less than 2 minutes, they were up. They were up in arms. They are saying, where is the question? Paper. Okay? Then Jamaicans, it took nearly around 5 minutes to ask where is the question paper. The Kenyans took a whole 20 minutes waiting for question paper in an exam which is supposed to take 30 minutes. Where is the leadership from that student? Follow with the lecturer. It is the right of that student to be served by that supervisor. Because that supervisor paid, he has taken the responsibility. So it was the student is supposed to follow through. And if the supervisor is not responsive, then you go to the university. And they say that our supervisor here who is sitting on my papers. So the lack of leadership, because I'm not saying that did not happen. All I'm saying is there is a lack of leadership from the students' side. Because they are supposed to follow through.
All right.
And they see why.
So that was a test.
It was a test.
That was the exam.
The test, no, you see, there was no exam.
That's what I'm saying. No exam was the exam.
Yeah.
No exam was the exam.
Yeah. So that you can raise, if you are willing to just sit and get oppressed, or you can say, hey, wait a minute here, there is something missing. You are expressing leadership. Okay?
Yeah, okay. We need to take a short break.
We need to.
We need to take a short break so that when we come back, of course, we're watching Uongozi today. We try and analyze critically what is happening at the University of Nairobi when it comes to leadership. And also we've had other professors getting frustrated, not even professors. Let's say when you want to get a professorial hat, it is so difficult to actually do it at the University of Nairobi. We've had other lecturers actually going out, outside the country or to other universities so that they can get that professorial hat. But in the University of Nairobi, it is such an Herculean task. Then why should it be an Herculean task? Is it the systems, or is it the standard fare at the University of Nairobi? The student does not follow up. Let's follow up that issue on the other side of a break. You're watching Uongozi today.